Welcome again to Math 800 Pre-Algebra. Today we are doing section 1.8, Exponents and Order of Operations. Our objectives: 1. To use exponents to write repeated factors. 2. To simplify expressions containing exponents. 3. To use the order of operations. And 4. Simplify expressions with fraction bars. An exponent can be used to represent repeated multiplication. The base is the number being repeatedly multiplied. So, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 can be written as 2 to the 5th, or 2 to the 5th power. The little 5 is what we call the exponent. That tells you how many times you multiplied it. The 2, the bigger number, is the base. That's the number being multiplied. 2 to the 5th is in exponential form. When you write it out as several multiplications, that's in factored form. Recall that the numbers being multiplied together are called factors, which is why this is in factored form. When you actually evaluate it, that's considered simplified form. Sometimes you will be given factored form and expected to find the exponential form. Other times you'll be given the exponential form and will be expected to get the factored form. Generally, you are always required to simplify when you are done. Though we will focus on exponential notation with numbers, we will be using exponential notation with other things, such as variables, like x squared, or units, such as inches squared. Remember though, the exponent just means you're repeatedly multiplying. That rule is the same no matter what it is you're multiplying, no matter what the base is. Example: simplify each expression. A. -5 squared. Notice the parentheses around the -5 and that the 2, the exponent, is outside of the parentheses. What this means is that you're multiplying the entire parenthesis set, the parenthesis -5 parenthesis. That is what is being multiplied twice, because the parenthesis comes before the exponent. And -5 times -5 is a positive 25. When you do eventually use calculators, most of the new models do this correctly. However, some older models struggle when you have negatives and exponents combined, so if you have an older calculator, please be careful whenever you use negatives and exponents. B. -5 in parentheses to the 3rd power. We will have the -5 in the parentheses multiplied with itself 3 times. Be careful when you have multiple factors. It is best to work 2 at a time and watch your signs very closely. So a -5 times a -5 will be a positive 25. And then a positive 25 times a -5 will be a negative 125. In general, when your exponent is even, all of the negatives will pair up and cancel out. So anytime you have an even exponent, you will have a positive result. When your exponent is odd, you will always have an extra negative sign that doesn't pair up with anything. So if your exponent is an odd number, your result will be a negative. That will always be true. Now we're going to simplify the expression 2 cubed parenthesis -3 squared. Remember, if there is no operation written, this means multiplication. So we're doing 2 cubed times the -3 squared, even though there's no symbol here. So the 2 cubed is 2 times itself 3 times. Notice, even though there weren't parentheses around the 2, in this case we have chosen to write them. Remember, multiplication can be written several ways, one of which is with parentheses. The -3 squared is the parenthesis, the -3, and again the negative is in both parentheses. Some of these you might know how to do without going one at a time. So 2 cubed is going to be 8. 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8. -3 times -3 is a positive 9, because you have a negative times a negative. And then 8 times 9 is 72. Next we'll talk about the order of operations. The order of operations have 4 steps. Step 1, work inside parentheses or other grouping symbols. Generally, we're going to see parentheses. However, occasionally you'll see square brackets or curly braces or absolute value signs. Absolute value signs count as parentheses or grouping symbols. So if you see absolute value signs, do what is inside the absolute values first. Step 2 is to simplify expressions with exponents. Step 3 is to do the remaining multiplications and divisions together as they occur from left to right. This is the biggest thing people make mistake with. A lot of people do multiplications first and then divisions, and that is incorrect. The multiplications and divisions go together, and it has to be from left to right. So if a division is on the left of a multiplication, that division must happen first. And lastly, step 4, do any remaining additions and subtractions, again, together as they occur from left to right. So same with addition and subtraction, you have to do them together as they appear left to right. So if a subtraction is to the left of an addition, you have to do the subtraction first. Now we will do several examples. Simplify. 9 plus 3 times parentheses 20 minus 4 parentheses divided by 8. We will work inside the parentheses first. That's our first step. 20 minus 4 is 16. Now we have a multiplication and a division. We have to go left to right. So since the multiplication is on the left, we will do that first. 3 times 16 is 48. Now we still have to do this division before we can get to addition. Addition and subtraction are the very last thing we do. 48 divided by 8 is 6, and lastly we'll add 9 plus 6 and get 15. Notice how the 9 stays lined up with itself, as does the plus sign we didn't use. It is very important to keep yourself nice and organized when you're doing order of operations. If you're not careful about where you write numbers, you will get your order wrong. And in this case, we always had positive numbers, but you will have solutions that involve negative numbers. So you can't just assume that because a number is positive or negative that you can determine whether it's right or not or what should be done first. You have to keep things lined up and neat and organized. Another example. 3 plus 2 times parentheses 6 minus 8 parentheses times parentheses 15 divided by 3 parentheses. Work inside the parentheses first. In this case, the two set of parentheses are separate from one another, so you can work them at the same time. However, if you have parentheses inside another set of parentheses, you have to do the ones that are the innermost. In this case, they're separate from each other, so you can do them at the same time. The 3 gets copied down, as does the plus and the 2. 6 minus 8 is negative 2. We haven't dealt with this multiplication yet. And then 15 divided by 3 is 5. In this case, we have two multiplications, the 2 times negative 2 and this multiplication right here. We have to work left to right, so we have to do this one first. 2 times negative 2 is 4, and then 3 plus negative 4 times 5, we have to do this multiplication second. We get 3 plus negative 20, and then we add. 3 plus negative 20 is negative 17. Another example, parenthesis negative 4 parenthesis cubed minus parenthesis 4 minus 6 parenthesis squared parenthesis negative 3 parenthesis. So we have an exponent, a subtraction, a parenthesis with a subtraction, an exponent, and then this is a multiplied by negative 3. Again, if there's no operation symbol written, it means multiplication. We will work inside parentheses first. 4 minus 6 is negative 2. Now we have to simplify the exponents. Again, because they're separated from one another, we can do them simultaneously. Otherwise, you have to be a little careful if a parenthesis is inside a parenthesis or if they're right next to each other. Please note, negative 4 cubed would be negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4. You'd multiply the first two together and get a positive 16, and then 16 times negative 4 is a negative 64. Negative 2 squared is negative 2 times negative 2, which is 4. So we get negative 64 minus 4 times negative 3. We must do this multiplication before you do the subtraction. negative 4 minus a negative 12. And remember, when you subtract a negative, what you're really doing is adding a positive, and we wind up with negative 52. Lastly, we're going to simplify expressions with fraction bars. When you see a fraction bar, you need to treat the numerator, or the top of the fraction, as one expression, and the denominator as a second expression. So we're going to simplify the top first, the numerator, then we will simplify the bottom, or the denominator, and then we'll combine them and do this final division. So, the numerator, negative 8 plus 5 times parenthesis 4 minus 6. Do the parentheses first, you get a negative 2. Do the multiplication second. This multiplication has to be done before you add. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Then negative 8 plus negative 10 is negative 18. Now we will simplify the denominator, the bottom. 4 minus 4 squared divided by 8. We have to do this exponent first, and we get 16. We have to do this division before we can do that subtraction. We get 2, then 4 minus 2 is 2. Now we will put these back together. This was our top, and this was our bottom. So we get a negative 18 in the numerator, a 2 in the denominator, and then do this division. Negative 18 divided by 2 is negative 9. That concludes section 1.8. Your next steps are to complete the worksheet for section 1.8. This is WS8. If you are in my online section, you can then check the key in D2L. If you are in my face-to-face section, you will have to wait until class, and we'll go over the key together. Once you have gotten the key, complete the online homework for section 1.8 through my math lab. Once you've completed section 1.8, start on the chapter quiz 1, see your course calendar for the due date, and then start on section 2.1.